talk about a few concepts from Glass's book, Not Just Friends. And this book is basically about affairs and the way that couples can rebuild trust and sanity after an affair. So it's a really interesting book, and it's really good for couples who are going through an affair, as well as I think couples who have previously been in bad relationships and maybe they have trust issues and they fear infidelity. They could really benefit from reading it and just learning the skills and the techniques that are in the book to hopefully prevent infidelity from happening to them again. Infidelity is just something that's really hard to talk about with couples because they don't like to, obviously, who does. But all of these concepts can be given to, an individual who is committing infidelity as well as the other partner who's been cheated on. And the first concept is walls and windows. And so walls and windows I found to be really interesting. What it basically is a metaphor used to describe levels of intimacy within a marriage and then those those outside relationships. So basically what walls and windows is thinking of a marriage as a unit. So whenever you are in a relationship with someone, you create these walls around the two of you that protects you from outside relationships or things that could break the bond that you have in your marriage. And then the window is basically that you two look out the same window of openness and honesty. And so describing, how a relationship as a unit could really help couples look at it in a different way, because whenever someone has an affair, what happens to this unit is, so you have, your house, and whenever a partner commits infidelity, there's this wall that comes up between the two spouses. And so one partner has allowed the affair partner to come in and put up this wall, and so now the two in the marriage are now separated between this wall, and it's a really good way to kind of see how, if someone has committed infidelity, how they can look at their partner and see, why they're so distraught and why it's so hard to get over, because you really put up that wall and you kind of break your unit. This is also a way to keep your boundaries. So when a friend knows more about your marriage than your spouse knows about your friendship, then you've already reversed the healthy position of your walls and windows. So in ways of preventing infidelity, teaching them about healthy boundaries and walls and windows is a really helpful tool for couples. And then whenever an affair does happen in a marriage, it's ideal for the partner ending the affair to create windows with their spouse, that window of openness and intimacy, and then the walls with their affair partner to kind of, block that off. And this is how you rebuild trust. The next concept is going to be compassionate communication. And this is basically one of the many steps in repairing a couple in the light of an affair. It can also be good, just in general for couples to know. The goal of compassionate communication is to use language as a means of creating a more intimate bond. And then there are 4 tools described on how you communicate compassionately. The first one is inhibit. And basically what this means is that it's essential to never attack your partner or to make them feel attacked. Whenever you come at someone, and you're venting and you're yelling and you're screaming and you're insulting them, they're not gonna respond to you. It's just gonna blow up and continue to get worse and go downhill. Your intent should be to help them understand where you're coming from, and what matters most is how you say it. So how you're speaking to your partner is everything in a relationship. So you want to inhibit nasty outbursts, the attacking with anger, as I described. You want to inhibit negative cycling. So sometimes in relationships, it's tit for tat negativity. So your partner will say something mean and you want to say something mean back. And so you kind of have to gain that self-control and not ever add fuel to the fire. If you are angry, you just want to make sure that you take that time out and then come back later when you're not angry and you're ready to talk about it. The next one, inhibit rehashing. So don't allow yourself to really sit there and think about those bad memories and then get mad about a memory when nothing is happening in the moment. So it's really important that whenever you're in an argument, you state your present position. So say, I'm feeling this way right now, as opposed to bringing up a past argument, because then that just, goes bad. So another way to prevent that is creating a list of forbidden topics. So if a couple just newly is going through an affair, so the wife just figured out that her husband cheated, it would be really important for their communication, maybe for if she's always bringing it up and causing a fight, that they kind of make this list and say, okay, don't bring up the past partner, don't insult me, and just a list of things so that things don't snowball into a huge argument every single time. Inhibit interrupting, contradicting, and confronting discrepancies. Always wait till your partners aren't done talking before you speak. Don't just be screaming and yelling back at each other and trying to make the other, interrupt the other person. And the last inhibit is analyzing, mind reading, and editorializing. So do not ever think that you know your partner's intentions better than they do. You can't sit here and assume that your partner is doing this or thinking this. You always want to talk it out with them, and that's really a big thing in communication with couples. Okay, so inhibit. The second one is play ping pong. So with couples going through an affair, a lot of the times one of them is, the hurt, angry one, and they feel like they need to be the one speaking and telling the story all the time. So they go on and on and on talking, and what you really want to do is play ping pong, as in not holding the ball for too long. You want to break your message down into shorter chunks so that your partner has time to analyze the short thing that you said, and then they can give you their response. You want to take turns and create that dialogue. You want to alternate between being the speaker and being the listener. So the third is use I messages as the speaker. So you want to focus on expressing your feelings. You don't ever want to say, you did this, you're such an idiot. You want to say, I'm feeling this way because this happened. You don't want to place blame on your partner from the start whenever you're trying to get a change or trying to express something. Sticking to how you feel will prevent your partner arguing with you or becoming defensive. Because if you're sitting here saying, I'm feeling this way because of this, they can't really argue back with you because they don't have to be defensive because you're not blaming them, you're just saying how you're feeling. And then also with using iMessages, you want to focus on positive aspects in your request for change. So the example of this is when you do an undesirable thing, I feel this negative way. When you do this desired thing, I feel this positive feeling. And so you just really want to make sure that you pull out the positives so that they can see the reward in doing this desired thing that you're asking them to do. The fourth one is be a good listener. And that's so important for empathy. So communication is a four-way street. Messages are not just sent, but mostly received. You send, I acknowledge receipt of your message. I send, you acknowledge receipt of my message. So you want to always acknowledge what you hear. Active listening, you want to give them verbal cues, I hear you, I'm with you, to let them know that you're engaging in the conversation and that you're really understanding what they're saying. And then the three components of active listening that were described are reflecting. And so whenever they say something, you want to mirror what they said. When someone describes an event that went wrong and the way they're feeling, you want to reflect back, okay, so you're feeling this way because of this, so that you can make them feel that you understand what they're saying and that you're present. And then validating. Partners really need validation a lot of the time, and that just means whenever your partner is asking you to do something or asking for a change and describing a situation, you want to validate them and say, yeah, you're right, we should do this. And validation really goes a long way. It makes someone feel understood. And then empathizing is the key to listening. And that's just understanding your partner. And by doing all of these things, you reflect that empathy. Another one in Be a Good Listener, provide support without problem solving. So you want to relate to what your partner's saying and demonstrate to them that you get it, but you don't always have to have a solution to the problem. That comes with time, and that comes with listening, just listening and being there in that communication. That problem will solve itself. You don't have to always fix it. And then providing support without empty reassurances. And this just has to do with validating, positive versus negative feelings. Instead of saying to them, time heals all wounds, you would want to say, of course you're upset, anyone would be. You don't want to give that empty sympathy, because that just makes things worse. So that is compassionate communication. And then the last thing is forgiveness. And forgiveness is important in all aspects of life, but this is really with couples going through an affair. And so it just kind of describes what forgiveness is, and what it is a gradual process of increasing compassion and reducing resentment. And when it's appropriate is when there's evidence of intent to change. So a lot of people hold on to that burden and that anger. And when it's appropriate to actually provide your forgiveness is when your partner is making that change. They've cut off their affair partner, and you know that they have for a fact, and they're making that effort. That's when you want to try to provide your forgiveness. And it is essential for healing. Forgiveness is essential for healing. You have to let go of these things that happened in order to move forward. And then more so on the definition, which I found really helpful, what it is versus what it's not. And so what forgiveness is not is it's not forgetting or pretending that it didn't happen. It's not excusing or condoning the behavior. It's not reconciliation, and it's not giving permission to continue the behavior. Which on that one, couples have to be cautious of how early they forgive, because a lot of times, if you say you're over it and you just let it go too quickly, then a partner may continue their affair because they think that, you're just giving them permission to continue that behavior. And a lot of people hold on to that grudge because they think that forgiveness is a weakness. But it's not, and that's really what this is explaining. And that's what couples really need to be educated on, is what forgiveness is, because what it is it's for you. It's a gift to yourself, a choice, a process, and it's letting go of obsessiveness, bitterness, and resentment, letting go of that pain, and letting go of revenge and the need to punish. And so letting go of all of these things provides you with a lot of personal benefits, such as your well-being, your physical and psychological health. You gain that energy back. Whenever you're focused on those negative emotions, it really drains you, and it can actually physically make you sick. And so you gain that positive energy back so that you can go forward in your life. It also activates the transformation from victim to survivor. So once you let go of that, oh, poor me, this happened to me, and you give yourself that power of forgiving that person, then you really see yourself as a survivor. You got through it, and you move forward. And then it also increases your spiritual functioning. So it can increase hope and optimism once you learn how to forgive. And then the way that you grant forgiveness is acknowledging your pain. There are 6 steps. So the first one, acknowledge your own pain and express your emotions clearly without yelling or attacking. And so you kind of sit down with that person and you start to actually grant your forgiveness. So you have to, tell them how what they did affected you, how it made you feel, and you have to do it calmly. And then you understand the personal weaknesses and emotional vulnerabilities of your partner. And then you be specific about what you expect and what you cannot tolerate. So it's really setting those boundaries back up again. So you are granting that forgiveness, but you're not excusing or giving them permission to condone that behavior again. You are setting those boundaries for yourself. And then be specific about what you're forgiving your partner for. You can't just be broad about it and say, I forgive you. You want to say, I forgive you for cheating on me. I forgive you for all those times you worked late when you were actually lying. And you kind of go through that list of what you're forgiving them for. And that's how you really let it go. 5, perform an overt act of forgiveness, verbally, physically, or in writing. So you actually have to, work up the courage to have this conversation, to hug your partner, to let them know that you're okay, that you forgive them, or you could even write them a letter. And then number 6, stop blaming and start living. So you have to really let go of that resentment. You can't keep blaming your partner for what they did. You have to, for yourself, truly, truly let go of it so that you and your partner can both move forward with your life. And then my favorite quote that I found on forgiveness was, worrying won't change tomorrow, it just takes the enjoyment out of today. And that really has to do with partners who say, well, how do I know that they're never going to do this to me again? Forgiveness is just really letting that go and accepting the fact that you and your partner have done all this work and moved forward, and so you really have to believe that things are going to work out, and that's how you move forward and you let go of those bitter feelings. Okay, and so those were the 3 for Glass and this book on infidelity. So that's it.